Welcome back. Now that we know how to really fine-tune where we're placing our widgets within our window and to really control how our window is behaving, we want to look at how we can bring emphasis to things within our application using color. And there are quite a few color properties that are more or less going to be shared between a lot of the widgets that we're going to be using. So we're going to cover each property name and what the effect of it is. Background, which has a shorthand of BG that works in most situations but not always, allows you to customize a widget's background. And it is worth noting that not every widget will implement all of these properties, but a lot of widgets, if they have a changeable background, will use the exact same property name. Foreground allows you to change the foreground, which actually just means you're changing the color of text within the widget. Active background is going to be the background when the widget is in the active state. Same thing for foreground. It's going to be the color of the text when it's in the active state. And then you also have the situation where you have a widget that is disabled. In that case, you can also customize the text color by using the disabled foreground. Highlight background is an interesting one because it's the color of the border around the widget when it's not focused, which is really specific. And then you also have the highlight color, which is going to be when it is focused. So those are two that aren't quite as intuitive as the rest of the property names when you're trying to figure out what exactly they do. But when we're going and looking at color, there are multiple different ways we can specify the color of our widget using these properties. So for instance, we can use the hexadecimal color format. And this is my favorite way to do it because it really gives you power to specify the exact colors that you want to specify. And if you have not used hexadecimal colors before, you're going to use it by specifying it in a string. And you're going to start with the octothorpe symbol there, or hash sign. And then it's going to be 6 hexadecimal characters. And every pair of characters is going to represent one color on the RGB scale. So it'll go from 00 to FF, which is because you can go from 0 to 255, and the amount of that color that is baked into the actual final color. So we can create white by having a full red, full green, and full blue. So 255 of each, which is going to be FF, FF, FF. And that's pretty handy to know because as you figure out what you're wanting to kind of mix and match, then hexadecimal allows you to modify these numbers on the fly and kind of know how to just generate a purple, for instance. But the best way for us to dig in and really see these things in action is going to be by going and using them. So let's dive over and have a quick demo. I'm going to come back into window.py just because we didn't have anything else going on here. And we're going to use button. It's going to be a TK button. And it's going to be on root here. We're going to set a background to FF0000, and this is going to be full red, no blue, and no green. Active background is going to be the same thing. Foreground is going to be 00FF00, so this will be no red, full green, and no blue. Set the text to press me. And we'll set the active foreground to equal 0000FF. So this is going to be just full blue. Go ahead and do button pack. And we'll add some padding around here. Pad X 30, pad Y 30. Let's go ahead and run the application. And what do we notice here? You'll see that we did successfully change the foreground color to be this, but background and active background did not really do anything. But active foreground did. So when we press this, it does turn the text to be blue, and it's green by default. So our backgrounds didn't work here, and that's because actually setting background and active background is going to be specific to the operating system that you're working on. And this is kind of just one of the annoyances of working with a tool that is cross-platform, is that some things work on some platforms and don't work on other platforms. But in general, the application as a whole is still going to work. But if you run into this situation, you might want to change how you're customizing these things based on the platform that you're working on. So that is worth noting. And you can figure that out using the platform package. I wanted to demonstrate this one specific case because it just goes to show that even if you know what the actual attributes are, you always need to be manually testing these things. And there are a lot of weird, quirky situations you can run into using tkinter. So always try these things out when you're going and wanting to do your customizations to make sure that they can work. You might be able to find some workarounds to limitations of operating systems out there, but they're going to usually require quite a bit of extra code and just branching logic in order to make that work. And sometimes less customization is good because you can just let the default look and feel of the operating system that you're deploying on do the work for you.